Spence. I'm the Vice President for Community Impact for the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay. Welcome. And I am going to be up here for just a second to give you some introductory remarks, and then we'll get right into our pitch. But first, there are a couple people I just wanted to thank for being here and ask to stand up. We have wonderful support from our board. Our board chair, Donna Longhouse, is here in attendance. We also have board members Patricia Douglas, Anesta Boyce, Mike Starkey, Susanna Grady, and Miles Capron. So great turnout from our board of trustees, and we thank you for your support. This has been a long and interesting road for us on the grants group. We started at the beginning of our fiscal year talking about social enterprise and looking at unique ways we could strengthen the nonprofits in our community. And this was nothing more than an idea just 7 or 8 months ago. So we're really excited to be here at this stage. When we started talking about social enterprise, though, we had a very specific definition in our mind of what that constituted, because I think if you asked everybody in this room, everybody would have a slightly different understanding of what we mean when we say social enterprise. From the foundation's perspective, we look at it as nonprofit social enterprise. So owned by, begun by, started by nonprofits with the idea that it is a mission-related business activity that builds revenue for the organization to support the other work that they do within the community. So it's a kind of a slightly off definition from the standard social enterprise that you'll see when when you think of entrepreneurs and pitch competitions. This is a little bit different because it's born of, led by, and for the benefit of the nonprofit community. So I wanted to also tell you a little bit about how we got from the idea of nonprofit social enterprise to our 3 great finalists that you'll hear from today. We started in the fall with some listening sessions. We went around the community and held several different listening sessions. We had over 100 different nonprofits show up to learn about what we mean by nonprofit social enterprise and to learn about what we were going to do and how they could get their hands on the $50,000 that we'll be awarding today. It's always a good way to entice nonprofits into a room. So we held 3 different ones. We held one in Pasco, one in Pinellas, and one in Hillsborough. Some great questions and conversations emerged, and I actually know that several nonprofits began to partner even outside of this competition itself based on the conversations they were having out of those information sessions. So we've already seen some fruits in the community just from spreading the idea and starting the conversation. From that point, we opened up the competition in January to any 501c3 who provides services here in the Community Foundation's footprint, which is Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties. We received over 50 nonprofits started applications, 31 complete and correct applications. Out of those, we then narrowed it down to 10 semifinalists. We invited some outside reviewers. Our grants committee ranked them, and our staff took a look at them as well. From that pool, we narrowed it down to these 3 finalists that you'll hear from today. I'm really excited for all 3 of these ideas, and I hope you will be too after they get a chance to share them with you. The format for our afternoon is that each of our 3 finalists will get 10 minutes to provide a presentation to the group. There'll be 5 minutes of questions and answers from our esteemed judges panel, and then we will move on to the next presenter. We should be done right around 5 o'clock, which gives you a little bit of time to mingle and enjoy the beverages in the back while we deliberate. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll come up with the big check and award the winner. So everything happens here tonight. We're really excited. Thank you for being here. And with that, I'm going to jump right into our first presenter, which is Evergreen Life Services.
Hi, thank you so much. We're going to have a bit of interactivity at the beginning. I'm Nancy Giles. I'm Evergreen's National Social Enterprise Director. And this is Robert Breedlove, our Chief Information Officer.
Hello.
And he's going to pass to the judges
First,
a little headset.
Virtual reality.
And we apologize, we don't have that many to give one to all of you.
So if I could get you to actually see what virtual reality is like, so the presentation and the video will make sense. Because if you haven't experienced it, it's hard to really understand what we're trying to present. It's like the old Viewmaster back in the day, put it up to your head, and there's a button on the side that will say tap to begin. So when you put it up to your head, tap the right side here, and it should begin the video.
Okay, and we're unfortunately not going to let you listen to the whole thing because we have 10 minutes. So. All right. It's just kind of important that you see where we're going with our project, and we're not quite there yet, so we use the headsets to give you an idea of what our plan is. Robert Evergreen Life Services is in 8 states, but we partner here in the Tampa Bay area, and I'll talk a little more about some of our partners after Robert does the visual part of what we're doing. We have, as Evergreen, put money into developing the first phase of this project. So fortunately, we're able to show you today an introductory demo of our project that AliveTech and Clearwire partnered with us to do. And then a short video of what we hope to put into virtual reality. So I'll let Robert do that.
Evergreen Life Services is proud to present our As Seen in Virtual Reality concept through the perspective of E, our virtual host. E is here to take you on a tour of the Evergreen Virtual Village. Virtual reality is a continuum of immersive experiences that extends our abilities to teach and learn. It allows us to do things we used to only imagine. Through an immersive environment, we can tap into major learning domains of knowledge, attitudes, and skills, and stretch ourselves like never before. Evergreen is dedicated to the inclusion of people with disabilities in their home and communities. With the Evergreen Virtual Village, caregivers can help to prepare individuals for a doctor's visit, a trip to the grocery store, or even allow them to experience recreational activities such as visiting the zoo or going to an amusement park. Important life skills can also become more engaging experiences with virtual reality. Let's take hand washing, for example. By entering the home and then visualizing the sink, faucet, soap, and towel, tasks like this can be practiced and reinforced in a fun and repeatable way. Virtual reality is a breathtaking new medium with endless possibilities. We at Evergreen Life Services are dedicated to bringing this technology to our individuals. We hope you will join us on this exciting journey.
Thank you so much. That kind of gives you an overview of the project. It's merely the tip of the iceberg. And we're going to show you kind of what one of the virtual reality segments would look like.
Welcome to the demonstration of the virtual reality concept. In this demo, we'll show you how virtual reality can be used to deliver effective, easily repeatable learning experiences. This demo is designed to give you an idea of how it will work. The final product would provide more detailed instruction in a highly realistic-looking, immersive environment. The first phase of each lesson is the modeling phase, where clients watch a demonstration of the skill they will be learning.
Today we're going to learn about washing our hands. First, we need to turn on the water, get our hands nice and wet. Now get the soap, and scrub well. Keep rubbing your hands to get them good and clean. Be sure to get between our fingers and up over our wrists. A good way to make sure we're washing long enough is to sing the birthday song. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you.
The next phase is to guide the client through the skill one step at a time. During this phase, the client can use hand controls to mimic the appropriate behaviors. The program does include voiceovers, but caregivers can turn audio off if they prefer to give the instruction in person.
Today we're going to practice washing our hands. First, we turn on the water. Okay, now wet your hands. Now pick up the soap. Rub the soap in your hands. You can put the soap down now. Super. Keep rubbing your hands to get them good and clean. That looks good. That's right. Remember to get in between your fingers. And up over your wrists. Keep going while we sing the birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Each lesson will provide guided instruction through every step. In addition, a backwards chaining option is available. With this option, the client must choose the appropriate final step.
Do you know what the final step is? That's right. The final step is to dry off. Can you point to it? You did it. You washed your hands. Good work.
Thank you. And for those of you who are fortunate enough to see the virtual reality, each of the modules with basic skills would be in the virtual reality so that we're immersing the people into the skill we're trying to enforce. We actually have a business plan and partners. We have partnered with AliveTech, with Cal Patel, an attorney, to help us because of the intellectual property and the pieces with the development of taking virtual reality and pulling it down to a skill level. We also partner with our club, Louise Graham, and we partner with Quest in Tampa. The whole principle is to get an app up and running with the virtual reality modules on it. And at that point, I think you realize by seeing that it applies to many other people, like people aging with dementia, veterans with PTSD, even a child learning these skills from the very beginning. So we're hoping when we're talking community and going out in the community, we want to generate income from Publix or from grocery stores, doctors' offices, where they would brand that VR piece and put their name on it and help us promote it. So basically, that's where we're going with it. Evergreen believes in it. Our board put this money into it. And we are excited about the prospect. Virtual reality is everywhere in fancy, wonderful applications, but it's so appropriate to be down at the basic skill level area. I think Robert's going to hand you one other thing we have. We also have something fairly new called lenticular prints, and they would follow up these modules because as you walk by them, they remind you to wash your hands, they remind you to flush the toilet, and do all these basic things. So we see our app starting at the very basic level and focusing on the people with disabilities that we serve and that our partners serve here in the Tampa Bay area, and then branching out and developing the app to support the lenticular prints. And we also hope to start a subscription service where people with disabilities would package and ship ready-to-use virtual reality materials that would not require the internet for those people who couldn't access that. So we've tried to cover all bases with it, and it's very exciting to us to watch people with disabilities use this equipment. We're also looking for partners, so we realize maybe we can't do it all ourselves as a nonprofit, so we're open to any kind of partnership from someone who would really like to jump in and help us. So I guess that kind of finishes it. Robert, do you want to end with anything?
I'd just like to say that I have a passion for technology, and I've got learning disabilities myself, so a traditional pen and paper doesn't work for me like a keyboard and mouse does. So I know that people with disabilities also have different ways and different tools that they need to learn the way they learn. So I'm hoping to bring this kind of technology as another tool for the staff to use for the individuals. And if any of you are familiar with Stephen Hawking, imagine his mind without the tools he has to express himself and get out of his trapped body. So that's what we're hoping to do with virtual reality. bring it to the basic skill level, introduce it to the individuals that we serve, and see if we can tap into something that traditional tools of pens and paper and other methods that we use don't reach those individuals at this time.
So we want to thank you a whole bunch for inviting us, and we're very honored to be one of the 3 finalists. So thank you very much.
So at this point, we're going to move to our 5 minutes of questioning from the panel.
If you could take a minute or two, or maybe 45 seconds, and kind of walk us through the basics of how you will generate revenue.
I can do that, but the 10 minutes made it difficult. We see an app being developed in Google Play and iTunes, and we see people that serve people with disabilities that are caregivers accessing and downloading that app for a small fee that is going to generate income to us. We also see a subscription service for the one that's not Wi-Fi connected. And we see our lenticular prints as a stream of income. And even on top of that, we see jobs for people with disabilities to put all that together for us and do the shipping and bring the income in. So it's pretty exciting. There are 43 million people in the United States with disabilities. Does that?
Another model is actually to have a turnkey solution. So provide the headset and the device with the content loaded on it, which again would provide employment for the individuals we serve, packaging that up, ship it out to the customers and let them use it, return it back to us after a given either quarterly or twice a year, send it back to us, let us upload new content, and then send it back to them. So there's a couple of
Well, and that basically came up when we realized, especially with aging, if a caregiver was going into someone aging's home, there wouldn't be any Wi-Fi more than likely. So we realized we needed to offer 2 options to provide this service.
And how much would a subscription cost?
Right now, if you got the entire headset, it'd be $3,500 for the entire for the year per headset.
And does insurance pay for that? I mean, how?
This is so new that we have no idea at this point. We're definitely going to pursue that, but right now it's more a matter of, and he's talking $3,500 for an agency to buy it and be able to provide the headsets to multiple people, not just one headset. So we're really looking at generating the income from a white viewer, not the fancy one you have, and private labeling it with Evergreen, and then also putting a phone in it that's already pre-programmed for people. So we have not figured out exactly what we're going to charge for that. We think there's a shipping and handling component, and we need to work with people at our club and Quest to determine the cost for shipping that, assembling it, and shipping it out.
And then also available in the App Store, where you can just download the content directly yourself. So you just go to the App Store or the Play Store and download for whatever our pricing model is, depending on the detail of the content. So as we get more detail, it's going to be more expensive.
So that someone would need to have a smartphone and know how to use a smartphone in order for that to work for them?
Just for the app download. The ones we're supplying will come preloaded and ready to put up and use.
Yes. Yeah, so they'll be loaded, the ones that we provide turnkey, we'll have everything on it. You charge it, turn it on, it'll load into the app mode, and you select what content, put it in the viewer, and that's it.
All right, we have 1 more minute for questions. All right.
Is there some research documentation that would show that, for instance, the hand washing is easier and quicker and better learned with the virtual reality than the caregiver doing it? Because we do that now, we do the hand washing with them. And I guess just for me to spend $3,000 per unit for 10 or 15 of them, I want to see some research that says it's going to work better than our staff teaches people how to do.
Well, and we have been doing that. That's why we developed the instructional design and the little sample that still isn't immersive. But when we take the headsets and we immerse people in it, they aren't distracted. They're focused on it. They'll learn the skill either way, but it just reinforces it to use the headset where they're not saying, oh, that curtain's red, oh, that door is white, all the distractions. So what we see as a huge coup is that we're focusing their attention. So it takes both. It takes a caregiver and person to do it, but this will help them accomplish it a lot faster. We've been trying it in some of the Evergreen divisions.
And once we have the actual content developed, then we can start our research, and that's what we're looking for, the funding to get the virtual reality experience, to start doing the research and get some white papers and put it out there so we have evidence along with our concept of true results. But it's just like anything else. As long as we have the tools for the staff, they pick and choose what will work for that individual. Hand over hand works great for some individuals. A video works for some individuals. A verbal command. We just want to add another tool that the staff can use with the individuals. And some things are appropriate for some people, some things aren't. So we know this is.
We've been having great results with showing these things in an immersive environment and then putting our lenticular print up, like by the toilet, by the sink. Because as they walk by it, it moves and catches their eye, and it makes them rethink to what they saw in the immersive environment.
All right, Nancy and Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So our next presenter is Enterprising Latinas. We have Liz and Jennifer here.
Good afternoon, my name is Liz Gutierrez. I am the founder and CEO of Enterprising Latinas. I am very pleased to be here with you, with my colleague, Jennifer Webb. Together we will talk to you about our social enterprise. And Jennifer is our project lead on this project. We at Enterprising Latinas like to say that what we do is, what we want to do in our doing is transforming community challenges into economic opportunities for women, their families, and the broader community. Imagine, if you will, you are Maria or Jorge, and you are a hardworking couple in Waimama. You've been living there for a long time. You work in the agricultural industry, which is where a lot of folks work, and you also earned accordingly. In Waimama, the per capita income is about $12,000 a year. That's about $225 a week. You might be able to see Maria walking down the street with her children, carrying the grocery bags, each children with one bag or two, because they, although they work full-time, they don't earn enough to be able to buy a car and to keep it. Or imagine Juan, a young man bright young man with a promising future, who is the first one to graduate high school and has aspiration to go to college. But for him, transportation is also the barrier. It's a loss to one when he puts off going to school, but it's also a loss to the rest of us and a loss to the economy. Or worse yet, consider that you're Betty. You are a senior citizen that's been living in the community all your life. And now you have diabetes or you need dialysis treatment, as we know some of our members do. And now you have to choose between food or medicine, which also means, do I pay $65 for a one-way trip to Tampa General to get the free care that I need, or do I go without and put my life at risk? Those are some of the challenges that people are facing in our community. And for Betty, transportation is also the barrier. So these are stories that illustrate to you some of the challenges that exist in low-income communities where public transportation isn't necessarily accessible. But we also know from national and local studies that lack of affordable, accessible, reliable transportation is the single biggest contributor to economic instability for families who make up the working poor. And in Waimama, 50% of the population is the working poor. And so imagine again that you live in a place where it'll be 25 years before any type of public transportation may reach you. And then you think about the transportation industry and what it is. The transportation industry in this country is $1 billion industry, 25.2%, 25.2 billion to be exact. And if you add ride sharing, it even goes up. And projections moving forward to 2025 say that those revenues might even generate up to $335 billion in revenues for those in the transportation industry. So we don't have to wait 25 years. We don't have to wait for the market to meet the need necessarily of those in the community. We can be the change today. We can bring transportation to Waimama.
All right. So we will do this all within a business model. Woo. All right. We will do this all within a business model. Can you even see? That meets the primary mission of Enterprising Latinas to provide agency, access, and assets to the women of Waimama while unlocking the economic opportunity of the broader community through access to reliable, affordable transportation. We will hire 11 bilingual local women, 10 drivers, and 1 director of operation. And the business model will not only profit Enterprising Latinas, the nonprofit, but it will also benefit the workers. We will hire an attorney to help us structure the business so that the women not only have a say in this company, but also a share of the profits of the company and how they are reinvested. This is part of the pre-phase 1. Pre-phase 1 incurs securing startup for the funding, rolling out the website, marketing transportation services to the community and to local organizations, hiring and training drivers and a director, and fixing the bus routes. Phase 1, month 1 through 6, is primarily focused on implementing fixed route, flat fee transportation, and a soft rollout of contracted group transportation. In phase 2, we'll bolster the contract group transportation and then do market research for diversifying and honing the delivery of our transportation services. During our market exploration, we had multiple conversations with those currently providing transportation to the transportationally disadvantaged. And we developed a clear understanding of how Arriba will complement the services they provide or cover those not currently covered. Actually, these conversations confirmed our drive to solve the transportation issue. For we learned that the Hispanic community in South County is reticent to utilize government-provided transportation and feel more comfortable with drivers who speak their own language. We also have reached out to the nonprofit organizations and healthcare providers in the area and have a couple of verbal commitments for contracts. In terms of sources for startup capital, we have also spoken with a representative of an equity firm interested in our business solution and with nonprofit funders who are thrilled with the opportunity to invest in solving the transportation issue in South County. Our main startup costs are the vehicles. However, rightly, our main ongoing expense, which for this social enterprise is an investment, is payroll. We're going to pay our workforce, the 10 drivers, $30,000 a year, which is a living wage for the area. These drivers will operate 4 bus routes, 2 loops per hour with 5 to 6 riders per loop. That's $1.75 per ride. Operating 14 hours per day, that's over $45,000 monthly revenue just for the fixed route income. And the fixed route is the baseline revenue source for this business. We have, given the geography, both diversifying and scaling are necessary for expanding the footprint of our services. So in month 3, we're going to expand to non-emergency medical transportation. And in phase 4, we're going to explore door-to-door services with smaller cars. Therefore, we have 3 revenue streams: the fee-based transportation fixed route with its $1.75 ride, the contracted group transportation that will roll out in phase 2, and the non-emergency medical transportation subtract, which will roll out fully in phase 3. This also means that we will generate revenue from the beginning, and our profit loss statement is positive from year 2 on forward. The business model and price point that we arrived at is the accumulation of balancing multiple on-the-ground considerations. I mean, we are turning the transportationally disadvantaged into consumers. We take this process seriously, and it's tricky. So we researched how much those in the lowest socioeconomic status quartiles spend on transportation annually and ensured that we were below the national average. Yet we need to ensure that we can afford to provide this service, so the fixed price is a little higher than other models throughout the country. This will also allow us to lower the price if necessary. With a price so affordable, we need to ensure a hearty ridership. So we anticipate over 300 people using our minibus each day. But how does this number compare to the total population, those below the poverty line? And it works. By considering all of these factors, we are confident that we have created a price point and a service provision that will be profitable without being exploitative, economically stabilizing to our workforce and the broader community without jeopardizing our solvency. We're actually pretty proud of the care that we took in composing this plan, and now we want you to imagine that you're Jorge and can start school in the fall because you can jump on Arriba, or that you're Maria and you bring your kids to the store and then you'll all jump on the bus and can get home in 5 minutes instead of an hour and a half, or that you're Miss Betty and you're saving $64 each way to the hospital because of the services that we provide. This is our pitch to you today. We are offering you the opportunity to unlock the economic potential of those in Waimama and the women with whom we work. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna switch things up a little bit for the Q&A session. I know you had a hard time, some people had a hard time hearing the actual questions, so I'll go ahead and repeat them so everybody can hear.
So, understand how you make money from the few different areas. Now, the profit you make year 2 and beyond, where would that go and what would it support and what kind of operation?
Profit year 2 and beyond, where does it go and what does it support?
So it will, because we are giving the drivers a say in where that profit goes, part of it is designed to go back into the nonprofit because that's part of creating independent, solvent nonprofit that Liz runs in Waimama. And then the other part can go into expanding the market, scaling. The area is quite rural, and so there's other areas that we can expand into, buying a larger fleet, diversifying our fleet, things like that. But again, the women will be able to help determine that. And also, it could also go towards giving them incentive pay or appreciation pay, bonus, things like that.
quick overview of Enterprising Latinas as an organization.
Sure. So Enterprising Latinas is a nonprofit, tax-exempt organization. Our focus is really, at the end of the day, moving women out of poverty. And our work is about really, as I said before, sort of creating opportunities out of the challenges in the social sector that exist in our communities, converting them into economic opportunities. So for example, in Waimama, one of the other things that we're doing is that we know that there are over 700 children under the age of 4, and they don't have access to childcare. So we're training folks to become self-employed as childcare providers, as well as entrepreneurs and becoming licensed family home childcare providers. So again, it's a social problem that exists in the community. We're converting it into an economic opportunity.
Are you satisfied that if and when HeartFlex or Sunshine Line expand into your territory, that you can compete or that
Great question.
work together with them?
If public transportation does expand into Waimama, which it currently does not serve, are you convinced that you can compete?
All right, that's a really good question, and so I had extensive conversations with HART and with the Sunshine Line. Sunshine Line, well, HART, to add just a flex, not a flex line, a first mile, last mile service, just to add that, it's $450,000. For a population under 10,000, it doesn't make economic sense. To add another bus, that's $700,000 just to purchase the bus. So maybe in 25 years, the population will be large enough that they'll be able to expand. But that's a lot of projection, and our county doesn't have a track record for investing in public transportation. Sunshine Line, I had a really extensive conversation with him, and they're so taxed that they're only able to meet their first 3 priorities and out of 5 priorities. And so and he even said I could maybe even get 2 buses down there to do some loops to bring people to their doctor's appointments and other things, but they can't have access to any other services, and they have to provide documentation and fill out all of these paperwork. And so I said, okay, well and he was like, but even that being said, there's this whole other portion of the population, in my experience, is that the Hispanic population in South County just doesn't avail itself of government-run transportation services. But we would complement. I would perceive it as complementing.
Do we have any final questions?
Just, you could identify the top 1 or 2 risks to how viable your plan is and how you propose to address them.
Awesome.
Identify the top 1 or 2 risks to the plan and how you propose to address them.
Well, so that was kind of what, looking at so we're serving the transportationally disadvantaged, which is the working class, the working poor. So that is a risk. I mean, it's a need in their market, and this is a service, so it's an affordable market, but getting the price point right is really tricky. And that's why we took so much care in the beginning doing that. Fleet size is another thing. We took a ton of time researching, for instance, if you have 3 buses, you have to hire 9 employees to run them, versus 10 buses, you only need 10 employees because of employees scheduling. So we mapped it all out. Things like that. And transportation has its own tricky things. I don't see competition. Rideshare doesn't exist, and from all of the research that I did, it doesn't look like they're going to meaningfully expand into rural areas. The county doesn't look like they're able to expand into areas south of Riverview, Fishkill. Yeah. Any others?
Well, the only other, what I would add to the question about what the risk is, I think certainly this is a type of project that requires a tremendous investment early on, and to the extent that we can lower the debt associated with the company, the better we're going to be, so that we can maintain an affordable price. But I think that the need is great and the population is growing, and I think that as our service grows, we will be able to meet pretty much the needs of the community, because we have made a plan to ensure that we talk to people that we're serving while we're doing this, so that we are learning constantly about the needs and how we need to change.
All right, thank you, Liz and Jennifer. Our final presentation is from the Pinellas Ex-Offender Reentry Coalition and Michael Gelazzo.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to apologize. This is going to be unique for me to apologize for three things first. One, when I made copies, the copies cut off on the image. Two, I had this really great idea to make a video, and I was going to have the mayor appear and city council, and then Matt rightfully said, you know, anyone who knows me knows I have a tendency to really go on and on and on, and maybe doing a video wasn't the best idea, so there's no video. And three, I just forgot the third one, maybe it's because I'm a little bit nervous. All right, I'm the CEO, Executive Director of the Pinellas Ex-Offender Reentry Coalition, or more commonly known as PERC. And what you have in front of you is our presentation on what we're creating as a second chance tiny house manufacturing corporation. This is a collaboration, as you can see, between us. We assume at some level with the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, Pinellas Technical College, the Tampa Bay Career Pathways Collaborative, the City of St. Petersburg, Pinellas County Government, the Florida Dream Center, Bon Secours Health Systems, West Care Gulf Coast of Florida, and G2 Designs of St. Petersburg. This idea that we had has really blown up to where we're having meetings already with county government in 2 weeks about building tiny houses to replace mobile homes throughout and deal with homelessness. So we're really excited as this gets going. We're a big believer in social enterprise. As an agency, we've actually started doing this. It's funny, when I met Matt last year, I said, you know, we're really going to be making the move, because as a nonprofit agency, a lot of times we live from grant to grant or government contract, but in reality, we need to start taking a business approach towards self-sustaining programs, and that's what this is. A few examples that we have done on this, and it's all going to kind of come up behind me, is we do transitional housing. As an agency, our mission is to help offenders become and remain ex-offenders. This is a ex-offender reentry program to a certain extent. But we actually do transitional housing in South St. Petersburg, which is already in the black. This past year, we purchased the Continental Inn to do a housing program for sex offender populations, and it took about 7 months, but it's in the black. We're real pro forma based. We're about kind of making business decisions that actually make sense. This year, we're going to start something called the 16th Street Wellness Pharmacy as part of the second needle exchange program in the state of Florida, working with the state legislature and working with a pilot that's gone on in Miami-Dade. We have the support of the Florida Department of Health as well as Health and Human Services. The Red Tent Women's Initiative is associated with us. We're actually opening a brick and mortar store, an online store, and they're already selling goods at festivals. These are women in jail who come out of jail, both pre-release and post-release, making jewelry, making different things that they're able to sell. We have what's called the Gentleman's Quarter Barber Shop that's going to be part of a mentoring program. We're actually opening the 3rd evening recording center in the state of Florida in about 2 weeks at our facility in South St. Petersburg. The barber shop is going to be providing a mentoring program as part of that. And certainly what we're here to talk about, which is the Second Chance Tiny House Manufacturing Corporation, which which I know is a long name. We probably have to come up with something a little bit catchy. You know, this is a win-win, but when I was writing this slide, I'm like, this is really what I would call a win-win-win-win. And this is, I get really excited about this project because of all the collaborative partnerships that have evolved from this. We just had this as an idea. Let's build tiny houses. That became, well, we're working with the city of St. Petersburg. Carl Nurse on city council has been advocating for this. All of city council's on board, and so is our mayor, to look at lots in South St. Petersburg that the houses have been demolished, but they have all these different fees and stuff tied onto it. We're part of a nonprofit coalition that are now going to be taking these lots. So we're going to have the lots donated to us from the city of St. Petersburg, and the mayor's already talked about changing zoning laws. City council's talking about changing zoning laws and doing variances to allow for tiny houses and to allow for row housing. Hillsborough County, like Pinellas County, the whole state, we have homelessness issues. And this is suddenly becoming part of that. But we've got these lots coming to us. We actually acquired our first lot behind our facility in South St. Pete, where we're going to actually put the first tiny house. So we also have another program that we're working with called the Tampa Bay Career Pathways Collaborative. And the idea of this is training funds that we have access to for people coming out of jail or people coming out of prison. If they have a Department of Corrections number, we're able to provide funds for training in manufacturing jobs, in recycling jobs, and in warehousing. So we're actually able to take this training money and use it to do two things. One, provide certifications and training through Pinellas Technical College. But two, we can provide OJT funds for the guys while they're in training. So they're going to get paid while they are in training, and they're not going to have to pay for the training. But this became a bigger win. Because 2 years ago, St. Petersburg City Council passed an ordinance that requires any contractor, any general contractor doing a project $2 million or more in the city of St. Petersburg, and if you've been in St. Petersburg, every project is more than $2 million, that 10% of the workforce has to come from hard-to-serve populations, mainly ex-offenders. The GCs and the subcontractors have been claiming for a while that there's no trained people. Well, one, we know that that's not true because we see them come through our doors every day. But the idea of this as a social enterprise is that each month, each house we build, we're going to employ and train 4 ex-offenders for training so that we can then have a pool of people. And we've worked with the city of St. Petersburg, the city council, and everyone, that we're going to have the workforce for the contractors to choose from. So every step of the way, this has become a win and another win and another win. And you know, I know I'll run out of time before I get to every slide, but Pinellas County government has become very interested in this because they want to do tiny houses on wheels, which is what we want to build, instead of replacing some of the housing stock in mobile homes. We're meeting with them in 2 weeks, and they're excited about the concept because we're a nonprofit. We want to build these at a profit to sustain and expand programming, absolutely, but we can do it at a lower price point for the city of St. Petersburg and for Pinellas County. And part of this comes back, I'm on our homeless leadership board, I'm on the providers council, is we pick your population in terms of veterans. We can't seem to get to functional zero in ending veterans homelessness. We're going to be able to put these tiny houses on lots and actually be able to put families in as part of our Housing First and Rapid Rehousing program. So, I think you can probably tell I'm really excited about this because when you're able to take something that's a social enterprise that can train people, put people to work, be a public safety help work with homelessness before we ever sell a tiny house just as a custom order, it's fantastic. So I probably said all that. This is again, we submitted in our business plan. This is a self-sustaining model almost from Jump Street. The biggest piece we don't have is the funding for the materials. We just don't have that. We have the training funds. We have the OJT funds. Again, I kind of already ran through most of this. You know, it's tiny houses, it's its own movement. I don't know if any of you watch any of the tiny house shows. My wife and I are always watching them. This is a whole movement. It's a movement that the city of St. Petersburg wants to take on, and obviously now so does Pinellas County. So we're really excited on the front end of this, that we could potentially sell houses to the city, sell houses to the county, besides the traditional ways. when we put this out there, when we were writing our application, we reached out to tiny house manufacturers across the country. The response was overwhelming, offering to give us plans, architectural drawings, to give us support, technical assistance with people in California, and everyone's talking. You know, this is a great way to train offenders to become and remain ex-offenders as a reentry program. So we do have in place collaborations that I've obviously talked about. G2 Designs and Architecture are in St. Petersburg. They're a St. Petersburg company. They actually want to take the drawings, fix them up, and make them more green, and start talking about different types of rainwater systems and different stuff like that, which don't exist in Pinellas County. Greg Johnson in the Small House Society, he posted this on his stuff, sent it out nationwide, and again, we got all these plans back and all these ideas and support back. Anyway, I already said the rest of that. Like, I just get so fired up. I'm like, I don't know if I should do a PowerPoint. So, you know, we've got the government support. We've got the government evolution. They see this as a next step in some of their solutions to end homelessness or work towards ending homelessness. Like most of the country, people who work in homelessness, the whole Housing First model, rapid rehousing, this fits into that model. Bond supports, last thing I'll say. Bond supports health systems. I met with their director of programs nationally, and we started talking about this. They've already said that they would commit $20,000 to $30,000 in the fall in their next funding cycle. And what they want us to do, and this is awesome, this is really cool, they have 20 acres off of Gandy and 4th Street, and they want to take part of that, put 8 tiny houses on it for seniors who maybe they can't still stay in their house because it's too much to manage, but they can still be independent and create a social community for seniors. So all of these things are coming together. We've got a build site at the old Lealman Fire Station, working with the Florida Dream Center, almost rent-free. Actually, our business model has gotten better since we submitted it. So, all right, I think I've probably killed all my time. Thank you.
As I told Michael, it takes him 5 minutes to say hello. So for a 10-minute presentation, let's not do the video. So panel, do we have any questions?
Right, so in your conversations with the GCs who will now be required to hire 10% of the population, do you get the sense from them that this kind of training will be sufficient for them to come in and say, yeah, they got what it takes?
So the question is, for the general contractors who in St. Petersburg are required to hire this population, does Michael have the sense that this type of training is sufficient?
Yes and no. The yes part of it is that, and listen, I was actually someone advocating on behalf of the GCs because we've done projects and understand the process when they're bidding on these contracts. They're going to go to their subs and they're going to submit bids, and based on the bids, then we're going to come back and add this. That part of it isn't my idea. That came from City Council, and they're going to try to put a little more teeth into it. What we're going to do is certifications from Pinellas Technical College, both of their campuses, and we think that a lot of our guys will wind up going in 2 directions. One, into apprenticeship programs that tend to be longer with Pinellas Technical College while working entry level, or 2, that they will have certifications that let them be entry level, like OSHA, the OSHA 10, or we've done forklift certifications, some smaller things so that they have something on their resume to allow them to work even in the lowest level jobs.
So, by the way, one suggestion would be show us pictures of what a tiny house is. Okay, well, sorry, but so how many of these can you build? How many people can you train? What do the numbers look like? Sure.
How many can you build? What are the numbers?
Well, what we
How
plan
many you sell them for? And who are you going to sell them to?
Okay. All right, so first question, what we plan for in this particular application based on our other funding streams is we're going to build at least 8 houses and train 32 people. We're assuming a 4 to 6 week build cycle because there's going to be a little more training. You can actually build them faster than that. We expect to sell tiny houses. One of the things that we learned in doing our research on this is that there are people who decide to buy tiny houses. There are not that many people building them. So they actually travel around the country to look at tiny houses. So we think that's a population, but we also are looking at, now we're really talking about doing stuff in terms of homelessness that we're going to be selling directly to government as well. The cost of tiny houses can range. I mean, I've seen them from $15,000 to $100,000, depending on how elaborate you want to make them. Our goal is to build affordable tiny houses, but we will do custom orders for people who want custom orders. You know, we're going to look at our model in terms of a percentage above that for profit. But our also goal in this, and it's not etched in stone at this point, is that once we find the right number, whether it's 4 or 5, we also want to build one, because you can build them for as cheap as $15,000 to $18,000. We want to be able to donate one. If we're going to get free lots from the city of St. Petersburg, we're going to also try to give back as long as we're economically in the black. I don't know, did I get all your questions? Okay, sorry. Still a little nervous.
I'm not sure if I understood correctly, the funding to pay for the training, for the trainers, I guess, and the trainees is coming from the collaborative, the Career Pathway Collaborative?
That's correct.
Are they funded by the Department of Corrections?
Just for clarification on the funding streams for the trainers.
Well, actually, it's from 2 sources. One is the Tampa Bay Career Pathways Collaborative, and apparently the second source is for a workplace readiness training thing we're doing with the city of St. Petersburg that I've been told we have been awarded, and I didn't know yet, but I found out while I was here earlier. The Tampa Bay Career Pathways Collaborative funding is under the Department of Corrections budget, but was actually a state proviso under the Ready for Work model that you have here in Hillsborough County with Dave Brown Ministries. You have in Jacksonville with Kevin Gay's program, which of course escapes me at the moment. But they've put all of those projects, and there's 6 in the state of Florida, under the budget for the Department of Corrections, but it's actually a state funding thing. So we have those training dollars, and we have the OJT dollars there. But as we've designed grants looking at these populations, the award that we're going to have from the city of St. Petersburg is $96,000 to train up to about 20 people. So we're looking at multiple sources of funding. But the real trick for this is for us, and where we think that the collaboration with the Community Foundation is fantastic. We're going to be able to build a self-sustaining business. We need to raise the money from other sources for the materials to start building the houses to sell them.
Any final questions?
Okay, that brings us to the end of our presentation. So at this point, the panel is going to go on the other side of the curtain and deliberate, and we welcome you to head back in that direction, take advantage of the cocktails that will be waiting for you, and we'll be back precisely at 6 o'clock with a winner and a big check.